and welcome to my channel. Today is day 16 of my Crafter's Companion 2021 Advent Calendar series. I hope you've been enjoying the series so far. Behind today's door is a stencil that is Christmas themed, and I'm going to start off by stenciling I guess it's sort of a geometric, modern, abstract Christmas tree. And I've just mixed in a little bit of gouache with my embellishment mousse to deepen the green and make it a little bit more Christmassy. And that's always an option to kind of change the color of any of your mousses, is you can apply since it is water based, so you can use, I guess, any water based coloring medium to alter the color. And I just used a sponge dauber to stencil with because I just want a very thin application. And I don't know, I didn't catch it in time, but I tried to sprinkle in some glitter before that embellishment mousse dried so that I can have a glittery Christmas tree. But I was didn't want any of the extra embellishment mousse to go to waste, so I'm just gonna make up this quick panel. And even if I hadn't have mixed in a different, like a gouache to tint my embellishment mousse, I wouldn't put the leftover back into the jar. I prefer to do this to use it up rather than trying to put it back in the jar and save it, because I want to keep what's in the jar really, clean and free from any sort of bacteria, because that might make it go bad quicker than it would otherwise. And I will be using that panel, but I just wanted to show that it's a way to kind of use up any extra mousse that you might have after you've completed what you need for the current project you're working on. Going back to the Christmas tree, this stencil does have a little star at the top, so I'm going to just use some glacier paste in gold to give it a nice sparkly gold star at the top. And what I like to do with a stencil like this, where there are a lot of different patterns on one stencil, I do, especially when the patterns are close like this, I like to kind of mask off or tape off the sections that I don't want to actually use. So that's why you saw me mask off the Merry Christmas there, but I'll use that in a little bit. Here, because I did not actually catch it in time before the embellishment mousse dried, I'm just painting on some gum arabic and water and then sprinkling my glitter on. So the gum arabic is a binding agent, and so it will hold that glitter to the card just where we've painted it on. And it's a really neat effect. You get and I did I wasn't going for like solid coverage, so I was just dabbing the gum arabic on. But if you don't have that, or you don't want to apply glitter that way, you can always use a sparkle pen. So I just used my homemade sparkle pen just to add a little bit extra shine to this particular card. And these card panels are US A2 size, so they are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So this is basically going to be my card front. So this card will end up being fairly flat since we are stenciling everything directly on. And I because I used the sponge dauber to apply the embellishment mousse through the stencil, that's not very thick either. Usually if you use maybe like a palette knife, you'll have it a more of a raised finish, because it'll be basically the thickness of your stencil. And but I think you get a thinner application when you use the sponge dauber. And since this stencil does come with the Merry Christmas sentiment, I'll be using them in different ways, because I didn't want to use the two together since they are a different font, but they are the same size. Normally, and here again, I'm just masking off areas of my card that I don't want to accidentally get ink on, because I'm using a small sort of finger dauber to stencil through, but the word is pretty close to the edge of the stencil, so I figured there's a good chance I'm gonna go outside the stencil. So you can always sort of mask off so that you can protect your paper. And the as I was saying, the font on both of the words I really love, and often I do like the look of a sentiment mixing different fonts just to highlight or emphasize a particular word in the phrase. But in this case, they're the same size, and normally when I see fonts being used like that, where there's a mixture of different font types, usually the phrase will be in one font, and then whatever word that is emphasized will be in a different font and larger, sometimes significantly larger than the rest of the phrase. And that's sort of what I'm going with here, where I've got one word, Merry, in the case of my second one, and Christmas in the case of my first one, and then I'm using my Dymo label to create the other half of the Merry Christmas sentiment. So I kind of prefer that look, and plus brings in just another element, another sort of texture, another color to the card, which I think is also kind of nice too. And I think I prefer the one that is this one here, which is when I flip it over, you'll see this is the one that has Merry stenciled and Christmas in the Dymo label. And I think because the overall shape also still looks like it's in that tree shape, I think that's why I like it. But I do love that both are very clean and simple cards, and I just needed to trim this off a little bit because when I'm using card bases that I think came in a kit, but they were a little bit off on the edges, and so I just wanted to trim that off a little bit just to get those edges lined up. And I'll add a few Nuvo drops to the card on the right, and I made some extra Nuvo drops because I wasn't sure if I wanted to go with black or if I wanted to go with red. But in the end, I just added drops to the card on the right, and then I left the card on the left as it is, just to keep it nice and clean and simple, and not kind of break that that triangular shape of the Christmas tree, because that's what I liked about it. The other one seemed a little bit more fluid and fun because Christmas is sort of at that wonky angle, and so I thought adding the drops would be good. And in particular, I used one of the drops to actually cover up a ink smudge. So drops are also really great for fixing those little oopsies as well. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this card today, and if you did, please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. Tomorrow is day 17, so I hope you'll come back tomorrow and join me to see what I make with what's behind day 17. Thanks so much again, and until then, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.